6:03. This is the Town of Harwich Community Preservation Committee regular meeting on the Don B. Griffin Room, Harwich Town Hall, 732 Main Street, Harwich, Mass. At 6 PM. Little past that, 6:03. Thursday, May 11th, 2023. If there's anybody that's going to photograph or video this meeting, please let the chair know. Any public comment? Hearing none, moving on. Approval of the CPC minutes, April 13th, 2023. Do I hear a motion?
I move we approve the CPC minutes for April 13th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
I
New-
abstained, I was not here.
Okay, we have one abstention. Follow-up annual town meeting.
Did we vote, Jan, did we vote on the 3:30 minutes? March 30th minutes?
We voted both of those in April.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All set?
Yep, I just wanted to make sure we had the right
Okay.
agenda and stuff.
So, again, follow-up to annual town meeting. Comments from the board?
Everything passed without question or comment, or, which was interesting to see.
And thank you for filling in for me, I appreciate that.
Not a problem?
The one thing I would mention to the board now is that I've been in touch with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and he's asked me to ask the board to consider the CPC articles to be put under one heading or one article, as they did this time with the budget. And we'll have discussion about that later. I just want to make you aware of it. It would probably be similar to what they did. The warrant articles would be, for example, A, B, C, D, and E, but it'd be under one heading, and then voted, and if there was any objection, anybody could, from the audience, could take the particular item out, have a discussion, and then move forward. So, and this is to expedite the process. How much it will, I have no idea, but I want to put that in your minds so you can think about it, and I'll make an agended item and we'll discuss it at some point. So, moving on. Anything else from anybody on town meeting, about town meeting? All set? Okay. Public hearing and regular meeting Thursday, June 8th. How do we feel? Are we all set for that? Any objections, any concerns?
Has the advertisement been in the paper, and do we have time to still get it in the paper, because it's middle of May?
Yeah.
3 weeks, but I need,
I'm just saying, the Cape Cod Times has been a lot, we do Chronicle here.
Chronicle.
I was gonna say Cape Cod Times has been slow getting stuff in
Really?
the paper, yeah.
But the problem is, everybody that's sitting in here tonight, they have to come. They have to tell me tonight that they're available, because we want quorum.
I am not able to be here June 8th.
Is that like our regularly scheduled meeting?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We can do whatever we
No,
want.
I'm just asking.
I just need quorum.
Again, for the board, we're just simply unavailable.
Yep,
Yeah.
Right, when did we pick this date? Or did we talk about this last
I
meeting?
don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It's thrown up
Oh,
for
okay.
tonight.
Oh, okay.
If we want to have the if we want to have the public hearing in June,
Yeah.
it's June 8th.
Okay.
Nothing's been printed anywhere, but I don't,
so I can
Okay,
tell
so
you-
I'm going to open it up to the board for discussion. I'll start with John.
As far as I know at this point, it doesn't make any difference to me whether it's the 8th, 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 20th. Well, no, actually, Conservation has changed. At least according to my calendar, Conservation Commission is meeting on the 22nd, hopefully in this room, so I could not make it. I'm not sure why that's happening in June, but
Okay, I'll keep that thought in mind. Mary?
I cannot do the 8th. I could do the 15th or the 22nd, I believe. And then if you go into July, I could do the 6th or the 20th. I can't do that middle week.
July,
I'm unavailable.
yeah.
July
Okay.
13th.
Yeah, that week,
Okay.
that's the week I believe I'm not available.
Bob?
I don't think I'm available the 8th, but would be the 15th for sure and the 22nd.
Nobody's, we can't do the 8th. Throw the 8th out. We have too many no's already.
Right, I got it,
So that was our regularly scheduled meeting.
yes.
But I won't have quorum.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to change our meeting to boot. Shelley?
The only Thursday in June that I am not available is the 15th. I'm available all other Thursdays in June. Would you like me to comment on July?
I'd rather keep it within June.
Great. I'm not available the 15th.
Okay, the 22nd?
Yes, I'm available. the
Mary?
22nd.
I can do the 22nd.
Kathy?
I have no idea, but I'll just say yes. I
Bob?
don't bring my
I
calendar
think
with
so,
me.
yeah.
John?
Can't do it, there's a conservation meeting that night,
That's right, he just said
and
that.
we
On the
probably have this
22nd.
room booked.
Oh, you
All right.
probably do,
Is
right?
there
We should.
another Thursday in June?
29th.
29th?
Yeah,
Yeah, Thursday, the 29th.
that's fine with me.
5 in June.
Yeah, that's good.
John?
Most likely
Yeah.
nobody else.
29th?
Yeah.
Robert?
Yep.
Kathy?
Yeah, would this be our regular meeting, or would this be in addition to, we can't have the regular meeting because we don't have enough people. Okay, 29th,
29th.
got it.
Mary?
29th should work.
Kelly?
29th.
Done deal.
So,
So it's the 29th.
I
Yeah.
solemnly
Ask
swear I'll be
you
here on the
if you want.
29th.
No, I just have a question about I have some thoughts about the public meeting.
Okay,
Are we
no, I just wanted to set the date.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
we can go
okay.
on
well,
to,
this is definitely the regular meeting.
will you guys hold on for a minute?
Okay.
I got it. So, we're gonna have a discussion about what Kathy wants about the public meeting. Go ahead. You've
Okay.
got the floor.
So I was thinking how every year we have difficulty getting people here. And I know we do the advertising that we're supposed to do, whatever. So what I was wondering, since we're doing it plenty early, so I was thinking about our process. So our process starts, with revamping the application, getting it available, then we have the public meeting, and then so forth and so on, till we get to here and we start all over again. And I was thinking that, Jan, do you know if we send out any kind of an email to previous applicants to inform them about the public hearing? Okay, so we do that. All right, so, because our list of applicants is traditionally like 85% the same applicants, so what we need to do is we need to stress to them the importance of coming to a meeting like this to express their concerns, their questions about the application, their questions about the process, and also what they see for the future. So, for example, somebody might come who represents something in the historic area and say, I see affordable housing as a key need. And if we hear enough of that, then that would help shift maybe our priorities.
So what about seeing if we can do a reverse 911 call leading up to the meeting for residents? That would go out to residents and say, on such and such a date.
Does that
I mean-
warrant, like, the
So-
level of,
So typically,
I'm thinking of an emergency.
Yeah.
so typically, I mean, I do them in Yarmouth for, town meetings coming up, please come early, we're expecting a larger crowd. So, I know in Yarmouth, we've done some for, when the planning board was doing the visioning for their new, master plan, they did robocalls to remind people of dates and events. I would think as long as it's not interfering with something else, we should be able to ask about recording a
Yeah. I mean,
robocall to go
I
out.
personally don't like the phone call thing, but, I mean, we can talk about that, but I was thinking that maybe we spend a little money and take out like a quarter-page ad in the paper, along with the public notice. Like a quarter page that says, public meeting, this is your chance to, whatever. I mean, at least we're doing some due diligence.
Yeah.
So, can I,
Well, and here's the second question. Is it worth doing something similar in the Cape Cod Times? That's not the Chronicle, that comes out once a week, that comes out as a daily, either on a Sunday or whatever, and seeing if they have.
I don't know what the publication is, the distribution is of the Cape Cod Times.
I read it online. so.
It would be more expensive in the Cape Cod Times, and I'm not
It
sure
would
about
be,
the
and I'm not
readership.
saying I wouldn't replace the
Yeah.
Chronicle, because that's typically,
Well, maybe we try
We put
one
everything?
and see if we can garner any more, activity.
Okay, hold on, hold those thoughts. John?
well, I have an old suggestion, which is, once again, an interview on Channel 18. The other is just public, sequentially, for several weeks ahead, public announcements at the selectmen's meeting. Which a lot of people pay attention to what goes on in the selectmen's meeting.
It's true.
So that might be helpful.
I can make that request of the chair.
I mean, these days, is it Mary Anderson who's making an announcement every meeting about committee vacancies?
Right.
And that could be just like tacked on to that even.
Exactly.
While she says, we need 3 more people, or whatever the number is today for CPC. Also, by the way,
by the way.
And leading into, no, I understand. I get it.
so
Robert?
No, I love the suggestion of putting an article in one of the papers, or both, as part of it.
May I ask a question?
Hold on. Kelly?
I agree with the suggestion about putting in the paper and the other communication suggestions. I was also going to suggest, since we're talking about the Facebook postings, that may be a good venue as well, since I'm talking with the library already.
Absolutely.
Mary?
I'm just wondering if through you to Cindy, if
Yes, she
perhaps-
is in the room.
if
My
perhaps there-
apologies.
it could be included in whatever her communications are that are going out to her membership, just as a heads up, that if there's any interest that they should attend and.
Please identify yourself.
Information.
Cindy Williams, Executive Director of the Harwich Chamber, and yes, I'm actually sitting back there quietly going, all right, so I could tell them we could do this, this, and this, and this, and this, but yes, whatever we need to get the word out for the state and stuff, there's a variety of things that we can do to help promote it.
It's supposed to be the time when the public comes to us and tells us what they want us to spend their money on. So that's the purpose of it.
So can you all, well, it would be a public meeting. I was just thinking of some like the housing huddle things that we did, that we had a special room, but this is where it would be, it would work. So it's just, again, getting that word out there. Kelly touched on, now do you already have a Facebook page?
No, so it would be communicated with, we talked through the library, so the library would.
So the libraries do, all right, so, but you don't have, so the CPC does not have a Facebook page?
Not as of yet.
Don't
Okay.
go there.
All right, no, that's fine. No, because I was going to say, once I have the information, I'll do a post on ours, and then we'll share it on the variety of things, but we'll also put it, I'm working on a monthly newsletter that's going to go up before Memorial Day. So there's a variety of places that I'll make sure that we put it once we get all the final, it's June, is this the June 29th one? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
That's outstanding. Thank you.
Yep.
Jen?
The reason I said this will be our regular meeting, and I said it wasn't designated necessarily as a public hearing.
Right.
Because this is Thursday before 4th of July weekend. Just FYI.
All the better. People will
not
be
have
in
any-
town.
I think it's better than the next week when it is
Yeah,
the
it-
4th of July week. Right.
They will come.
They will come. Or they'll tip their beer to us.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So is this more, would you think that it'd be better to vet everything out through all you guys at the regular meeting, and then will you have a July meeting?
This'll be the meeting,
No, this will be.
No, no, no.
June meeting, July.
June.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is
So-
the June meeting.
Why don't you do this June meeting, the 29th, everything you want to, like, you'll want to go through the whole process of what you're going to update with the application and everything prior to the meeting that you have with the public, correct?
Right.
So, okay, today, this is May.
It's early.
Your next meeting is June. I would do the June 29th as your regular meeting, hash everything out that you're going to be ready for your July meeting when the public comes.
No, the public's not coming in July, they're coming at the end of June.
Yeah, there, I
That
don't-
was my question. So you don't want to have a meeting prior to this to hash everything out?
That's this meeting.
That's
Okay.
this meeting,
Hashing, I guess.
and we've hashed.
Got it.
Till it's dead. Corned
I don't
beef
think there's
hash.
any, I don't think there's anything that else that we have to do. We'll tell it, even if we're making updates to the application, that'll all just get done and be available for them when they're ready to look for it, right?
Right. We'll make any, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, will we have a demonstration of the, new-
That's the idea.
at the meeting, at the June meeting, right?
We can do that. I was planning to do it tonight, so
I'd like, yeah,
if people feel the need, I mean,
yeah,
we need to
yeah.
talk about a couple of issues and come to some agreement about what's actually happening. But
Okay.
We're not there yet, so.
Okay, all right, I got you. So, the 29th is set.
Yes.
Let's go on right now to Cindy. Yep. I don't want to keep you, I'm sorry. I should have put you at the top of the agenda.
Hear what you guys, because in case where I am going to do some PR for this. So, after our last meeting, Kathy and I got together, and I had found some other options that I had seen online for a variety of other committees. And we also discussed about maybe not having it so flashy and taking away that Harwich brand logo and making it so that it will flow in all 7 villages. It should pass all right through historic with a blue. So these are 3 new options. And touching on each of the 4 that CPC is all about.
I've already circled one.
Questions, thoughts? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, my only problem with this one that you've circled is that
I want to know which one he circled now.
it looks like that the affordable housing is like the major.
I understand that, but
Okay.
I'm not looking through the eyes of affordable housing.
Right.
I'm looking through the eyes of the town of Harwich, people that live here,
Yeah, I get it.
in the housing part of the.
But I don't think the other things shine through enough. I kind of almost like us without, I don't think we need to list the names of the things, the areas.
Well, that's one person's opinion.
Yeah, no, I meant these things. Those, that's right, exactly, that's just my opinion.
Sure. He enjoys the,
So may I ask, which one did David like? Which one does David have circled? You like the one with the house,
Which one? The one with the house?
yeah.
the rooftops?
I certainly like the
Swoop?
appeal of the swoop, yes.
Kathy, which one are you leaning toward?
Hold on, John, go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually like them all. I think that the one we're talking about draws the eye more than the other 2, which is definitely a positive. But I get the reservation that it's focusing on housing. On the other hand, it's a big issue. It's probably the most prominent issue. And I guess I like the bottom one second because it's very specific and includes includes very explicitly all four areas, and that's important information. So the upper left one, it's attractive, but it's kind of vague, and I don't think it communicates what we do very clearly. So for me, it's between the upper right and the bottom one. And I don't know, I guess I kind of like the upper right better. But it's kind of it's a tough call.
Okay, thank you, John. Mary?
So, I tend to agree with John on the upper left. I like the picture, but I don't know that I didn't realize that was a slide until just this very second, that was like a playground slide. And maybe larger, I would have figured it out. I do like both of the other two. My only question with the historic circle in the center being dark, if we reversed the colors so that the letters were dark and the circle was,
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be better or worse, but
Depends on what it's going to be on, So, yeah, you definitely can play with it for sure. Like how,
and I do like the one at the bottom that is, spells it all out. I think I like the font and the lettering on the upper right-hand one better as well. I don't know why, but I just do.
All set, Mary?
Yeah.
Kelly?
I like the font in the upper right, and I do know why. I really like that community is the biggest word on there, because I think that's what we're really trying to highlight.
Good point.
I like, I wasn't trying to snub.
No, it's a good point.
And with the left, I do like an image that kind of encompasses all four focus areas. I don't feel like that image reflects it necessarily. Like, it's not obvious to me where historic or open space is. So if there's a way to do that, because I think that a larger image, kind of like the upper right, is helpful, but the upper right has them all kind of separated out. So if there's a way to have like open space connecting to community and recreation and historic, and those features, then maybe that would work better. And that's just my impression, obviously. And I do like that for the bottom one, that community, housing, recreation, open space, that's all labeled. But I don't think that it all needs to be separated out like that. Like, maybe if it's underlying the broader text of what the focus areas are in a line, maybe that would work better. But I think as a symbol of what our focus areas are might be helpful. So that's my overall impression.
Thank you. Bob?
Do you mean instead of having the 4 boxes?
I think it's so like community housing,
Yeah.
recreation.
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
Robert, you have the floor.
Yeah, definitely the upper right one really does attract my eye very much. Just has been spoken, the letter, I love the community being larger. The one on the bottom is more explanatory though, and I do like, if you have the room, to say community housing, recreation, just to reinforce it. I'm not happy with the historic, and I think it would definitely help what Mary suggests, reversing the printing. But should we, I
I
mean.
don't know what else to do for historic.
Brooks Academy?
Right.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, that's where everybody knows the money's going to right now.
That's true.
So I do prefer the upper right one, but I'm also not disappointed in the bottom one either. I mean, maybe in the bottom one, you could change the font. Or do something more like that, like the upper right one, so. That's my comments.
Thanks, Bob. Kathy?
Yeah, I think our objective is to try to get some kind of a symbol that people are gonna start to see, and they're gonna say, oh, that's the Harwich Community Preservation Committee. For example, when you see HCT's, sign with their pine cone or whatever it is, I forget. I mean, and because of the color and because of that symbol, because the two colors they use in the symbol, that that that's an HCT property, okay? And so I think that's what our objective should be. So, in my opinion, less words. I think we need to communicate the housing, recreation, historic, open space in pictures, not words, necessarily. I'd like to see the right-hand one is, for me, more symbolic, because it has something that you can start to identify with. I'd like to see the open space, just open space, not with a building in it. And
There's a
I
building.
think for historic, I think if you put another building in, it might be confusing with the building for housing right now, just in this particular scope of things. But I do think, one of the symbols they used, Cindy, right, at some of the places was a window, a historic window. That was what they used to identify historic. I mean, because there aren't like a lot of things that you associate with historic necessarily.
I'm trying to think what artifacts we have. There's
Yeah.
the cannon on the,
A cannon is historic,
On
an
the-
outhouse. The out,
The powder house in front of the,
right, there you go.
Powder house.
I'm just saying that
Powder
you want like some kind of a
Right.
symbol for people to
right.
know
I'm-
what it is.
I'm trying to think if
Yeah.
if a building isn't, what else do we have? And
Right.
that's one of the things that I think of is the cannon or the powder house or the,
Do we have a symbolic door anywhere in town?
the doors to Brooks Academy.
I don't even know what they look like.
it's just that it's an iconic building, right, with the
Mm.
columns and the,
But are most people gonna associate that with it? I mean, if they don't know the building? I mean, less and less,
Maybe we do the window idea and then take the verbiage of the revitalize and restore, like maybe put in the window panes. Maybe have that in there so then they know what it is. Because we don't have, you're right, we don't have a historic window.
right?
So,
Well, I'm gonna weigh in, if you don't mind, John.
go ahead.
The one top left and the bottom units are too sterile for me. I'm old school. I like the-
That top
I-
left one
I
is the
like
one that's the
that.
most popular online too, which
I
is
like
crazy
the-
in other towns.
I like the way the top right, the way it looks, the way it's presented. And I appreciate the historic aspect of that, how you would tweak that to underline that. But again, those are my thoughts. John?
Well, I was going to make a comment about the building, it has, I want to call them Doric or Georgian columns or something. If there was a way to represent that simply in one of these images, people wouldn't need to be even aware of that history to associate that architectural style as sort of an historic artifact. So that might be a way of thinking about it. I also wanted to just point out a thing that seems to be attracting people's approval is the typeface in that one, but it's actually two different typefaces. I'm just curious why. I mean, was that for emphasis? Are you
Yeah,
using the time
because this is
symbol?
community, exactly what everyone started to say earlier. So
Okay.
the Harwich and Preservation Committee is the same, and then community being more stand out because that's what you are.
Okay.
It's funny, as I said when David was talking about that left one, when Kathy and I were researching some, and I had researched prior to her coming down to see me, that one across the country when they do, that left one is probably one of the more ones I found repetitive in different locations, so it's funny.
That's interesting.
I like the right top only because I think it's crisper and classic and stands out. Bob brought up a point about how, yes, the house is the bigger logo right there on that. But again, it's also our biggest thing that is important to everyone in the, not just in Harwich, but all over right now.
Boy, that's driving the point home, isn't it?
It's a big thing. I mean, but again, we don't want to showcase just one thing as a, I don't want to say favoritism because that's the wrong word,
Not
but
with the word community there.
yeah. So, maybe we just make that housing swoop a little less, maybe make it just shrink it down a little.
Why?
I'm just trying to throw something out to you guys. I'm trying to read the panel.
I certainly understand everybody's, thought that, it is the number one priority, of the Board of Selectmen and the
It's not
Affordable
the
Housing Trust, but it's one funding application typically during the year. We get anywhere from 10 to 16 applications, so
I agree.
I just think we need to just keep that in mind, that's all.
Okay. I'm not trying to say that this represents housing in the town or development. I'm looking at it from a different point of view, an older point of view. That appeals to me, and I'm sure that if that's in the public domain, that's going to appeal to a lot of folks, a lot of my peers. So, just a thought. Mary, go ahead.
I guess I like the size of the rooftops with the swoosh because, to your point, it's recognizable. It's something that will become identifiable. And I don't know how to go about making giving the other three areas not necessarily equal, but a little more emphasis.
Should make them bigger,
Yeah.
this is just
Yeah.
a sample.
This is just so that it fit all on one piece of paper. It can be as giant as you want it.
Does color matter, what they were discussing?
So.
For their emblem, for historic?
No, so the last time we were together, we had talked about how the other one that I first brought, and I didn't bring it with me because I was traveling late tonight, had the orange brand that had happened 15 years ago. We decided that wasn't going to really probably fly, possibly with historic, but a blue would. So was trying to push this along as best I could because it's getting crazy busy and I can't keep coming back. Love you guys. Love spending a Thursday night with you, but
Make a decision. Robert, go
no,
ahead.
that was not.
Throw out a different concept here. What if we were to use the top right one, but have, for whatever purpose it's being used for historic or whatever, have only that logo on it? So you'd have 4 different ones. Recreation, historic, then you have lots of room to do much more.
Or you could just rotate them, right? Have the main one in the center and rotate your other two.
You could do that
right?
too. Yeah, you could do that too. That's true. That would work too.
So what, depending on where it's located, the signage?
Right.
So like for
So,
Brooks
and
Academy-
actually,
What funds were used would be focused.
and there actually was a banner, and I should have looked further into it, that each, when they're signed in by the funding went to, it actually did do that. So we can definitely do, and more so, people were doing the vinyl banners. If any of you are ever down by my building, and I just put a new banner up today, the vinyl banners are what we use, and that's what a lot of the locations did. So after they awarded Rec a project, they had a banner done up, and they're pretty sturdy. And then a lot of them also did use, which I know we all talked about probably not doing, but the signs in the ground, all those political signs that are around. Those were some things too. And then there are things on buildings, so it just depends on, but yeah, that is doable.
Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we need to think about is, what kind of signage are we gonna be going for initially? We're gonna be going for temporary signage, or are we gonna go for permanent signage? Because temporary signage is like banners, which are a lot less expensive, can be bigger, and they can be more, tuned into the specific thing. So it could say, Harwich Community Preservation Committee supported Brooks Academy exterior renovations, and that could be on a banner. It could be on something at the site during the time of construction. Then the other thing is do you want permanent signage anywhere? And I will say I had someone from the library come up and talk to me at town meeting about this particularly. So, as you all know, at the library, there's a small sign out front on the corner that says something about community preservation funds, okay? But right now, there's a new roof being put on. And they're afraid people are gonna be confused and think that the Community Preservation Committee is supporting the funding of the roof, when it's not true. So, the question is how long do you put the signs out there for? Do they get moved? Is there a place for a permanent sign? And that kind of thing. So I think we still need to kind of think about that. But if we want to come up with something that's used in the moment for a project that's ongoing or, in the moment, then we need to pick something that's recognizable, start to be recognizable. And could I just ask Jan what she thought of this? Because I know Jan has some artistic renderings. No? Okay. I know you have some talent in the area. I just thought you might want to comment on it. No? Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm getting a headache. Kelly?
I think so tagging on with Bob, but also in addition to Kathy's note, because I was thinking about signage as well. Like if we are signing locations, then maybe having a logo that only features what that funding is for might not work, but in this case, maybe it would, because if we have something smaller or whatever we want, if it were permanent, then it could say in like limited text what the actual supported project is, instead of just having a community preservation fund
Yes.
generic sign like at the library. Then it could say what it actually was funding.
Everybody put their top up, I hope?
What you could do too is, on a permanent basis, is maybe have a plaque. So if like inside, like the library, everybody walks inside the door, so maybe a nice looking sign, and maybe it's black or maybe it's silver with the basic logo with or maybe for that one, well, whatever. But then that's your permanent, and then funded by the residents, whatever the verbiage is going to be, have that be the permanent fixture. Plaques do not cost a whole bunch of money. But then any of the projects that you do the banners, the vinyl banners are heavy duty. And I mean, I've had ours up for like through all kinds of storms. And that way you can have it so that at Brooks Park or wherever we do projects, you have the logo for just that symbol and then go from there. But I wouldn't start spending money on permanent big signs like we were talking before. I think we should go different.
Kelly?
That's just me, and I'm not on the committee, so I don't have a vote.
For example, AmeriCorps Cape Cod does these really small plaques that are about this size, and they just say like AmeriCorps served here, and those are meant to be permanent. So if that's what we're looking for, then that would work.
CPC
and
was
that's pretty-
here.
Right, exactly. But just to kind of showcase our impact in the community, but since we're involved in so many projects, and maybe that would work, because they aren't that expensive. And I do think that if we are gonna like customize this top right to, depending on what the category is, I think this swoosh actually works pretty well for each of these categories, because it could serve as a bikeway for this bike, it could serve as like a river or whatever for the trees. If we, I mean, we could have the revitalized restore symbol, or it could use a Brooks Academy symbol, but that might work instead.
John?
So not to be contrary, but I will be anyway. I think it's important that we have something that's fixed and recognizable, a thing that, there's two things about swapping it out, depending on what the project is, that I have a question about. One is that then you've got 4 different things for people to recognize, and you're diluting what we're trying to do here, which is make something that's instantly recognizable. And the other is, that concept is also complicated by the fact that recreation isn't really recreation, it's undesignated, and we end up funding sometimes 100% like a historic project out of the undesignated fund. So I'm not sure how you communicate that in a way that anybody is going to absorb. I mean, if you try to explain that at town meeting, you probably lose 90% of the people who are there. So I like the idea of something that's more static and maybe with some text that is more specific, as opposed to the visual Coca-Cola logo or whatever it is that everybody, you don't even have to read what's on there, you just see the shape and you know what it is.
Mary?
So I understand John's point. I mean, it does, would it complicate it to have 4 different ones? I think it would, but at the same time, I think that swoosh with Harwich Community Preservation Committee may be uniform enough on all of them to kind of unify it or identify it. But I also would like to point out that Kelly's done a nice little sketch for you know, a little bit of everything in it. It's got open space, it's got buildings, it's got,
Let's see it.
we could throw a cannon in there, we'll be all set.
Are we gonna project my little?
I think it's lovely.
Okay, I kind of try to do 2 different ones, but maybe it's all encompassing.
Just saying.
Okay, so what I'm trying to portray on there is some community housing, people like playing ball or biking or something. Maybe a river path and some trees, and then a very rudimentary drawing of the Brooks Academy building.
Just saying, it's not bad.
I'm trying to control myself.
It's Thursday.
Yep.
Okay,
Well, let's cut to the chase. We can't keep this young lady on the hook for indefinitely, so let's make some decisions. What's the pleasure of the board? We have 3 in front of us. What does the board want to do? Kathy?
okay, so if we're gonna make a decision, then I would go with the top right-hand cornered one, and change out the revitalize, restore to be the opposite, you know, the negative space be the positive space or whatever. I think we need to decide if we like, which blue we like. Because that's gonna start to associate, you know, whatever. I mean, that should be an easy decision for us. Shouldn't it?
Should
Like
it?
Majority
Should it?
rules, majority rules. I don't know.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I think I agree with Kathy. We should narrow it down to upper right. And, you know, if that means there's a little more tweaking, then there's a little more tweaking. At some point, it's got to be somebody who makes an executive decision and just decides this is the way it's going to be, because we could sit around this table
And beat the dog that,
and discuss the
True.
details for the next couple of months. and I would withdraw myself from that decision because I'm not an artist and I don't pretend to have artistic. So I think someone there should be someone who finalizes this somehow or another.
All set, John?
Yep.
Robert?
I may have missed something in a previous meeting. Why are we saying Community Preservation Committee instead of ACT?
Oh. We had that conversation
Did we
before.
have?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think so.
Okay, I
I'm
forgot
not sure
what it
where it
was.
ended, but
Yeah, we try to keep the legislature out of.
You know, in the verbiage that we're gonna put down on
Okay.
the bottom, I do think we do put Community Preservation Act Fund,
Okay, that's fine,
or funds,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, so I definitely, I think, go with the top right one.
Mary?
I like the top right. I would be agreeable to leaving it the way it is or switching out the main focus. And I think if we're talking about just starting with banners, I think we can always change our mind. If we decide we don't like it, or we decide we don't like the way they're holding up, or, you know, whatever, I think the less expensive route is to probably go and buy a few of those banners that we can put around, see what kind of feedback we get from them, and go from there. And personally, I think I like the darker blue rather than the more royal blue, but that's just me. And I would be agreeable to either.
Kelly?
I would be agreeable to either color as well, but I think that the darker blue is more favorable on the eyes. I am also a fan of the top right. I would personally prefer to see a logo that more seamlessly incorporates the focus areas, but I can be agreeable to what we have in front of us.
So, Kathy?
Yeah, so I like the darker blue better. Also, I think it's easier on the eyes, and it's a different blue, so we can start to have people associate that with us. I think that we go for something, do temporary, not temporary, but we do banners which are temporary in it themselves, and start using it and see what the response is, you know?
I think we have a decision.
Awesome.
So, we're gonna go with the top right?
We're gonna change out the color.
Now, I
Color?
just want to make sure that I understand
Yep,
the
good.
circle restore. What we want to do is have the center white, the trim, the blue, and the words the blue, correct?
Right, the opposite of.
Yep, just want to make sure that I got that. And then if you'd like, what I can do, the company that I use for our banners, do up a couple of samples of what it would be with this, with all of them, and then do some that say, switching out that main one to have, say, the recreation, to have this, you know, and show you what they're going to look like to see if you're even going to like that. And then you guys can decide on that.
That sounds like a plan. We agreeable? Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I cannot make the 29th, but I will make sure that I,
If you give me
Have
the-
that to
We
Kathy.
can meet ahead of time, and I can
yep,
be
absolutely.
happy to.
Excellent.
Cindy, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Cindy.
Cindy.
thank you.
Okay. Next, online application.
So, I'm ready to go through this. Don't have an idea of how much attention anyone here has paid to this, or whether you all have all been through the process, or should we spend some time stepping through the screens here? I guess the one downside is that this screen isn't big enough to contain the whole thing, so we're gonna have to do some scrolling. But we can do that. Is that what the committee would like to do?
Sure.
Go for it.
So, a couple things. This is a draft. There's no link to it anywhere. You have to, there's nowhere on the Town of Harwich webpage you can go and click on it and get to here. But if someone has the link, they can come here. It's prominently marked as a draft. And the other thing about it is that My intention, and again, as far as I'm concerned, this is all open for discussion, is that no one will be able to proceed through the various pages of the application without completing that page. Can't go to the next page without completing that page. There may be one or two pages where that's not really desirable because it's maybe an optional page, but we can do that, or I can just make those decisions. I don't know, but I like people's feedback. Well, there's a couple of other things. One is that, as I understand it now, there's a limit to upload file sizes to 5 megabytes, which if you look through what previous applications, most of the files are less than that, but not all of them. And this is all, in a sense, temporary because sometime between now and around this time next year, the town, at least the plan, the last I understood the plan, is they're going to be upgrading this software, so it's going to work differently. It's not that whatever work has been done to make this will be thrown out because all the design and stuff will carry over. It might look a little different, but all the work that was done to make this the way it is will carry over. And hopefully file size limitations will be greater at that point. But I don't know whether just the transition to Microsoft 365 may have changed some of that at this point. I don't really know. So this is the first page, the page that applicants would come to when they click on the link that tells them go here to do the application. There's a bunch of text that you can't read very clearly from here, but my intent and what I did was to take the material in the application itself as opposed to all the all the explanatory stuff and put it into a form that is this online application. So there's a bunch of narrative on this page, and Caleb, can you scroll down on the page? Yeah, it's really hard to.
What happens if can you advance that to like 125 to see if we get a better
Change the scaling on this?
scale? Yeah.
Can you rescale this, Caleb, so we can see more of it on the screen, but then the writing will be less? Most of
There you go.
that's better.
Much better. Thank you.
So, well, here's an example. Hard copy original and 2 paper copies must be submitted. Again, I don't know what the committee feels about that. That's what I wrote in there.
Jan, how many do you need?
3 for the town alone, me, and a file that gets, I need 5.
Okay, that's
You need
fine.
5 paper copies?
Yeah, I don't get to keep.
No, I know, 3
I
for the
keep that.
town,
3 for the town.
1 for you.
What are we gonna do? Well, I'm gonna say 5. 3 for the town, library, and me.
So, library needs hard copies.
Yeah, we have a binder there.
Okay,
That's
so.
the only real accessible for the public. They can go and get it anytime.
Okay, so the way this is going to work is that the applicant is going to go through this process, and at the end, they're going to have a complete application that they can review, and then they're going to hit submit, and then probably I'm going to be responding to these applications and sending the applicant a hard copy PDF that is made out of that. I'd like to be able to automate that so that all happens automatically. I don't see how to do that at the moment. So that may be an interim thing. It's not that big a deal, it's just, so,
John, just point,
Yeah.
when you say a hard copy PDF, to me, that's 2 different things.
yeah, it is.
Okay, yes, I got something right. Yes. Yeah, it's okay. Good.
Yeah, what I mean is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be clear, but sometimes it's a struggle. What I mean is, I'm gonna take that, it's a web page that
Yeah.
has all that information on. I'm gonna turn it into a PDF file and email it to the applicant, and then they will take that, along with whatever other stuff they have, and deliver it to the town hall as, you know, as has happened in the past, just not as many copies.
So,
Go back, I didn't get that, because I gotta write this, what?
Well, if you,
So they're gonna do this online.
they're gonna,
Send it to you.
you know what?
PDF.
What I suggest is that we step through the process and get to the end, and then we'll come back to this process, because hopefully stepping through the application process, reviewing it, and seeing what the end result is, it'll all be a little more clear, and then we can go over, you know, what I was just talking about.
okay.
I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, because I just wonder if it isn't simpler for you to have the application online. Somebody can download it, they can fill it in,
Well, that's sort of,
email it to us to submit it, and then if we require hard copies, they can print the hard copies and send it in. For you to have to download everything
That
that comes
sounds-
in, and because the other thing is, I know when I'm doing a grant application, or if I'm doing an application for anything, you get interrupted and you stop halfway, and you want to be able to save your work partway through, so that I can go back and finish it later.
Right.
And if we're gonna require people to have to stop, I don't know that the webpage is gonna let them save their work partway through. I just think it might be less work for you in that circumstance as well. It can still be an online application, we can make it a fillable PDF document that they can fill in their information. And then if their file upload is too big, they could send it in 2 emails into us. One in, email 1 of 1, email 1 of 2, email 2 of 2, so that they could split their application and beat the file size if it's a problem. Because we all know people will do it at the last minute, it'll be 3:37, and, they're not gonna be able to get it in by 4 o'clock, and I've been
Okay,
there.
I'm
and
gonna reach to the computer.
I've been there and I've done it, so I'm saying it from a practical standpoint.
Kelly,
Yeah, I was gonna agree with Mary on the, ideally applicants are gonna want to be able to, save and resume later if possible, or at least be able to have the template and then get all their information ready to just input all at once. But the other thought is that there should be able to be a mechanism where once they submit it, they should be able to get like a confirmation email that either has a PDF already or at least has it in table form, so then they can print that instead of it having to go through you email them and do all of that. But there are some, I've done it myself where I've like submitted some applications and then I get the whole confirmation and the whole PDF too.
automatically?
Yeah, I mean, not through, I haven't done it through here, but I've done it through like, say, an AmeriCorps, application and such.
Or like a Google survey can be set up as an application, and you put all the information in, and then your response can be fed into an Excel spreadsheet,
Right.
and then it will also give you you can set it up so that the applicant automatically gets a copy of their application. So just,
Robin?
And I think we talked about this, the way Chatham does it is you have to generate a login so that you can go back at any time, finish your application, update it. But I thought,
that's
didn't
another
you look-
question I had
Yeah.
with Sarah, yeah.
yeah, then you can go back and forth, and also what I would do is let people jump around, because you might see the question, oh, I don't have that yet, but I want to finish everything else. And before you can submit it, it'll go back and says, you gotta fill out 2, 3, and 8. That may be too complicated in the software, I don't know.
Well, the way it works now, you can go all the way through and at least have wrong answers in there or something. Or, I can leave it the way it is, which you can proceed through the whole application now without putting anything in and get to the very end
Right.
and go back.
Right.
But then there's a question of, if you go back 5 days later,
Right.
that's a question I would have to answer. I would at least like to just go through this thing,
Yeah.
and if the committee decides it's too nuts, then, but,
And just one question, wasn't the purpose that these would just electronically submitted to us, so we don't have to have them print out, and then we print out the copies we need? That's what I was thinking, if we want to print them.
well, that could work here too.
Yeah.
But I've been going by the need that has been continually
Okay.
expressed,
Okay.
that there need to be paper copies.
Submitted, okay.
If the committee wants to abandon that, I.
No, they can't. We
Okay,
can't.
okay, so,
Not by,
Okay,
go ahead, John.
so, there's a bunch of notes here, and I encourage you to look here, and there was an email that went out in February, you have the link to this
Yep.
page. And if you could scroll down a little further, Caleb. One of the issues is basically submitting supplemental information, and there would be a link. I haven't provided it here for supplemental information to be submitted later, which is part of the process. And then I think we have to click, I'm not a robot, in order to proceed here. And then also, if you scroll back, could you go back, go to the bottom and do the back? Oh, did you just go back?
Yes.
Can you scroll up, Caleb? There's a link here to the informational packet, which is, again, pretty much the same as what we had before, the stuff in front of the actual application with dates and modified, and I encourage you to please look at that and proofread it. Look at it critically, make sure I didn't miss stuff when I made whatever changes needed to be made. Okay, so if you can now go down to the bottom and go to next, Caleb. Probably have, yeah. And then the first step is just to enter, this is all things that were on the original application, and then this is the applicant information. Then go to next, please, Caleb. And then project manager information, which I don't think is optional. The next screen is additional alternate contact, which is probably optional, but, and then next. So then this is the project title, the amount requested, project description, and then start and completion dates with a note about the 3-year interval. Next. And then brief definitions, again, taken directly from the previous application of the 4 categories, and then a place for the applicant to check off the appropriate categories. And I think I have it set up now that multiple categories can be checked. But that's controllable. It can be either way. It can be set so only one can be selected. Next. These are these narrative questions with an instruction that the applicant can either fill out the responses here or just put some text like "see attached" in there and proceed and include that in supplemental information.
If they don't fill anything in?
Well, it depends. Again, this this is a configuration thing. It's configured now, so you can go through these things and not put anything there and still proceed.
So if they
I-
put C attached, is that what you're using that supplemental information link for that was on the first page? Or is that supposed to be used
No, there's
after
two-
submission date?
That's after the submission date. There's a upload button at the end here for uploading whatever files are gonna go
Okay.
in with the application. So then these are the questions that were in the paper application. So go to next, please. And now this is cost estimate and again, which in the old application and in this online application occurs in two different places actually, which I guess is intentional. And then some extra instructions about land and building acquisition. Next, please. And so this is the end, and there's the chance to upload a file here, which there's no need to upload a file. Again, you can do this without uploading any supplemental. So if you hit next, Caleb. Then that's sort of this is sort of a
Yep.
signature page, and there will be a timestamp automatically put on the application. And then you can go to preview. And then you get a page with all the information that you just entered. There's nothing here because we didn't enter anything. And then at the end of this, there is a there's a submit button. And you can go back from here and go revise things. Just use the back button from here to scroll back into the application and change anything that you need to change. And then when the submit happens, that generates a file that gets put on to the town website in a place that someone with login credentials for the website can go and find the file and basically generate a PDF out of the file.
Mary?
Just one question. When you hit submit, if we put something in that said, not submitted, unless you receive, or applicant should receive a confirmation email. If confirmation email is not received, then the application didn't go through, just so that they know that if that email is gonna go out automatically, that's great, but I think just letting them know that if they don't get that confirmation email, you should worry that it wasn't submitted.
There's a hiccup somewhere.
Right. Because I'm just afraid of particularly where John had mentioned this file size. If too large of a file is gonna make a hiccup in that, you'd want them to know that there's a problem with it.
So a note on the first page tells people there's a 5 megabyte file size limitation, and if your file is going to be larger than this, please email it to such and such.
Okay.
Which again, that's, open to discussion here, but
Kelly?
I missed it, but does it say that also where you are to upload that file? Because it'd probably be helpful to have
Can you
that
go
there as
back?
well.
can you go back one, please, Caleb? One more, I guess.
Okay.
Yes,
It's a,
Yeah.
right. It says files exceeding 5 megabytes must be emailed to some email address.
That would mean nothing to me.
I know, it wouldn't mean anything to me unless I, had the hiccup, but,
Right.
Kelly, you all
at least
set?
it's there.
Yes.
John, I'm sorry, Bob,
Can't you do multiple files? Because I think on other parts of the website you can, and then that'll overcome the 5 megabyte limit. Because if I'm doing an application, I may have 3 or 4 different documents, and instead of me trying to put them all together in one PDF, you load them up individually.
Right, well, depends on how the file's prepared. If there are multiple smaller files, that's probably straightforward, although then it becomes a pain to administer on our end, because there are multiple files. But if somebody has a 25 megabyte, like the housing project in Orleans was a huge file, and that was prepared as a single file, so then you're asking them to break the file up, which is doable, but not easily.
To me, it's harder to put files together than
Yeah,
to
I
break
get-
them up, but that's
You
what's
have to have-
difficult to me, is to put them together. I mean, if you know Adobe really well, or if you have the premium brand, you can just keep popping them, but most people don't.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through this with John. We reviewed it together for a number of times and stuff, so I'm sure that most of the information is up to date and in there and stuff like that. I'm concerned about 2 things. One I'm concerned about is that the fact that it's several pages in on the application before we know what the application is for. You know, we might have the name of the applicant, but it seemed like it was a couple pages in before we saw the name of the project and whatever. And then secondly, the reference to, the informational packet. I'm like really afraid that no one's gonna look at it. Now, they might not look at it now, but at least it's printed out and they see it, and part of the I'm just concerned that, because we update that stuff all the time, I mean, and some of that's critical in terms of, how they spend the money and the reimbursements and the vendors, and some of that is in particular. I mean, I don't know how we feel about it. Maybe we don't care. It's fine with me. I'm concerned that that's gonna just get, lost in the shuffle completely.
Mary,
So I think to Kathy's point,
God bless you.
as long as the signature, as long as it's a part of the signature, we make them check off a box. Maybe you make them check off a box that says, I acknowledge, that I have received and reviewed the whatever it is, in addition to the signature block that's there, that's, saying by the time, by affixing my name below, I'm acknowledging receipt, blah, blah. And I guess, and to Bob's point, I think it would be helpful if there were options to upload multiple files, and I don't know whether it has to be 5 cumulative, or whether you could upload 5 individual 5 megabyte files, but the option to upload more than one, I think might be helpful, because I think to Bob's point, you might have architect plans, or you might have might have a spreadsheet, you might have a budget, you might have an overview or a picture, and then you might have description from,
200
Something
war
else.
memorials, I mean, hey.
exactly, you could have 4 war memorials, but
one
I
question.
think it looks great, though,
You all said, Mary?
yeah.
One question. In the opening page, I can't bloody read that thing. When it says request for funding,
Can you go back to the beginning, Caleb? Just keep going. Yeah. And then can you expand that some? Are you talking about the heading?
What I'm looking for is a specific thing.
Can you scroll
Request,
up?
under the request of funding, what the request is and how much money there is.
Well, that isn't the first page here. I'm not sure where you're,
I'm not saying it's on the first page, I'm saying
okay.
as you open the file to start the application,
Yeah,
the first thing that it says is what the request is, from what area of the request is, and how much are they requesting.
You want the project name, the
The
project
exact-
bucket
I'm
and the
sorry.
title. He wants that before the applicant. On the first line, he wants the
I see.
project name, historic, Brooks Academy Museum renovations, $5 million, historic. And then then Town of Harwich as the applicant. I think that's what you mean, right?
Exactly. I didn't put it well.
so Caleb, can you go down and scroll forward a few, step forward a few pages? So another,
I think he wants it there instead of 3 pages in.
one more.
Project title and project amount request.
Oh, no, this
Yeah.
is it, yeah. Okay, you want that right after the first page, which is mostly
I think he
narrative
wants it
text.
as the first line.
I want it as the first
He
line.
wants it as the first
Of the first
line.
page, for example.
In the result or in the application process? Or are you just worried about what you're looking at when you get the application?
Exactly, John. I want to know
See it first.
what the project is and how much it is.
Right, so the way things are organized now is the page that you get to when you click on the link is mostly instructions with a link to the informational packet. And then the next page would be filling out, this would be the next page then, is what you're saying.
Yes,
So the next page, yeah, because you want that before the applicant's name.
right. I don't know, how does the board feel about that?
Well, I think that's what I just said before, so,
I'm sorry. I'm
But-
sorry. I'm sorry.
so I agree.
He just said it a different way, that's all, Kathy. I just snapped
Yeah,
my
I mean,
cap
that's.
off.
Kelly, go ahead.
That's straightforward.
I agree with that. My guess is that John was just following the format of
Yeah,
our
I
typical
would.
user
Exactly.
application.
It was.
So
It
we,
is now.
so we're now just asking to put the project information that's on the front page just at the top, so then
Yeah,
that's what we
right.
see first when this gets submitted. Okay, great.
Does anybody think that the FY 2025 confuses people? I mean,
Yes.
I was thinking that if we have it there, because I know we all love it, can it be smaller? Because it is the 2023 application. But it just, if you look at
It's the
that,
20,
it is the 2023
But it's,
application, okay? For request for
And it's
funding.
not necessarily 2025 funding, it's only 2025 funding if we're
projecting.
Exactly, so I
forward.
always find that confusing, and I
But the-
think if somebody looks at that, they're gonna be like, oh, this is the
So,
wrong
So
application.
if you
what do
would
you want to
just put-
say, 2024?
No, no, no,
No,
no,
no,
I
no.
just wanna make it
Should be
smaller,
just small.
way smaller.
Why don't you just get rid of it? You can just say the 2023 Community Preservation Act
Request.
application, requests, application.
We have it everywhere, though, so we would need to remove it everywhere.
Okay.
John and I have had this conversation, right, John?
We have,
We have.
Yeah,
The application packet just says, so for example, the 2022 packet says fiscal year 2023 to 2024, so that's a little more clear than just saying 2025.
what does that mean?
but it's also
Yeah.
not,
Right.
it's also not necessarily accurate because some of what we've spent is
We can't-
actually 24 to,
24.
is like, is fiscal 24 as opposed to fiscal 25.
I think we should
23.
include 10 pages of information about municipal finance.
I just find that confusing, if we had an applicant, can I just finish?
Go, yeah, you've got the
No,
floor.
no, but if we had an applicant that was new to the process, let's just say,
They might think it's.
they might be like.
What the hell are we doing in
"What-
2025?
Yeah, right, what are we doing here? And it does confuse a lot of people, it's even confused some people on the finance committee, believe it or not.
Yes, it does.
It has.
Well,
So,
what the FY 2025 means here is that funds available in FY 2025 So you could make that a small print subtitle or something.
But to Mary's point, we use funds from
it's
23
estimated.
and 24.
Mary.
That doesn't mean anything to the applicants,
Mary.
it doesn't mean anything to
Estimated.
anybody other than
So-
this
They
committee.
want to know when they can spend it, when they.
Right, and it depends, right? Because our votes, if we've funded for funds that were pre-existing, right? If we used existing funds, which we did for some things, that money might be available now, it's after town meeting, that money might be available now to spend, whereas anticipated revenues aren't available to spend until after July.
Are you saying, are you saying seriously that any of the articles that passed, which was all of them, that was funded out of existing funds, could actually spend that money right now? I mean,
That money may be available to them. I mean, I would check with,
yeah, but,
the treasurer's office, but that was traditionally my understanding was that if you,
oh,
But we'll cross that bridge when we have a finance director,
okay.
so let's
So
not get
just
into the
strike
weeds.
for
We agree
FY
to take out
2025.
FY 2025 then,
I would.
Okay.
Okay.
all right.
everywhere?
I'd just say 2023 CPC application cycle,
Yeah.
Right.
right? Because it starts in October and,
And I like that word cycle.
Yeah, but do you want that word in here somewhere, cycle?
Yeah.
Where?
Kathy's making a face.
I
David
don't-
likes
I don't
it.
know.
2023
I don't really
Community
care either way.
Preservation Act funding cycle.
I'm not trying to make it difficult. I'm really not.
I don't know.
Robert,
No, I
request
Other
funding, it doesn't
I
matter
don't
to
care
me.
about that part.
Right.
I mean, whatever you come up with. No, I'm just want to support this, and it's gonna be awkward the first year, but I think it needs to be done, and I went through it, I liked it pretty much,
Okay,
so.
Kelly,
Going off of our paper application, if we take out for fiscal year 2025, can we plug in the word project between act and funding? 'Cause I think that makes it more clear that's for projects.
So are you suggesting get rid of the request, the word request?
No.
Just
No?
that.
funding request,
Saying Preservation Act
Full-
project funding.
What I'm requesting it say is 2023 Community Preservation Act project funding request.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Give it to her.
Going off of.
Two thumbs up.
paper.
yeah?
That sounds okay. So we basically like what John has done, put together here. We are requesting a change in the title. We're gonna get rid of FY 2025 everywhere, and we're gonna put the name of the project and the amount requested right at the top. Is that sort of the conclusion?
That's, yeah,
Good summary.
pain in the butt.
Okay,
I think we're settled.
all these changes are simple changes for me to make.
Okay,
I can, one thing, I mean, I think you're also saying you really don't like the idea of preventing people from advancing through the pages in the application without filling out each page. So we can leave it the way it is in that respect. It's no problem. I would suggest, however, since Kathy expressed some concern about people reading the informational packet, although I would say, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there were people who applied in the paper application who never read that stuff either.
Oh, I'm sure, no, I totally.
But what I'm saying is, we can put a check mark on the bottom of that first page, which needs to be checked off for anyone to advance from that page to the rest of the application. So the check mark is, I have read and understood or whatever, downloaded, whatever, some disclaimer like that, the informational packet, and people try to, I don't know if I can get a warning tag up there if people try to advance without checking that off, but whatever, we can do that, that's not a problem.
there's only one stumbling block that I see. In the past, we've allowed people great latitude at different points to bring information in. And if they have to stop in the middle of the application, they can't go any further.
He's gonna get rid of that, though, he said.
Gonna get rid of
Are
that.
you gonna,
He's getting rid of that.
He's saying the checkbox that the that you've gotten those terms and conditions that Kathy's concerned with. 'Cause it just before you fill out the application, you have to check a box and say, I've read them, I
You've read them.
acknowledge, I acknowledge those are
Right.
part of the deal.
However, I need to clarify the question of if someone gets halfway through, and some priority thing happens and they've got to go off and do something else and don't get back to it, the computer, Windows forces a reboot or whatever, and they need to be able to go back there and pick up where they left off, and that's something that I have to verify. I mean,
Talking about saving information?
saving the information, and one thing, I'm not clear on is if there are required login credentials so that someone can go back and pick up where they
Yeah.
left off.
If there are, we'll cross that bridge with another solution.
Well, we're running out of time here, which is why I tried to get this done in February so that we'd have time. So I'm gonna try to clarify that. I would also just, particularly when we have the public meeting next month, I can't believe June is next month.
Yeah, but it's the end of the month. is the
I know,
public meeting.
but whatever, we tell people, hopefully, there will be a solid set of potential applicants there, and we tell them, please don't wait until 3:30 on, and by the way, there's a due date here too of October 2nd, which is the first Monday in October, if I remember right. So please don't wait till 3:30 on October 2nd to pull this up. Fill your application out, at least provisionally, well before that.
So, to that end, are we going to, we will get somebody who tries to fill it out at 3:30 and is unsuccessful because they run into a stumbling block or something. Then, what are we as a committee gonna do if they miss the deadline to submit something electronically? If they submit something in paper before 4 o'clock deadline, then that's acceptable. Are we gonna accept late electronic submissions if there's no paper
So
submissions?
what is the real scenario?
I'm saying if somebody waits until the last minute,
Yeah,
and then they run into a glitch because they don't see that they have to check a box off or something like that, and they say, I can't get it in here, blah, 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 and they don't end up submitting a paper because they didn't get around to it, what are we gonna do? Since it's our first year doing it, are we going to have some latitude here? What are we gonna do?
What are the consequences?
Yeah, people need to know that if for some reason they can't get it in, they have to submit paper copies on time. We can't really extend the deadline. We shouldn't do that.
well,
But I'm just saying.
Kelly?
I think that's a consequence for any pilot program, like, they know that there's a paper option like we've always had. If they're late, they're late.
Right.
so, the possibility that they don't realize they need to check off the thing in the first page, so they don't get anywhere with the
Right.
application.
That's right.
They won't get anywhere.
That solves it.
We should be prepared, and I'm not sure how this would work exactly, but I'm willing to be available, on that Monday afternoon to field any inquiries and try to solve the simple ones, like, oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
have to do this, or you have to do that.
John, I'll be more than happy to let you take that.
Well, but then,
You have to be in that office downstairs with your computer.
I can do that. I do think you're right. It's the first time, something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah, there's gonna be hiccups.
And it would be surprising if nothing went wrong. But on the other hand, if we wait till next year, it'll be next year that something's going wrong.
So John, on one of the pages, it says at the very beginning that they need to submit a hard copy, original, and 2 paper copies. Why does it not just say, submit, 5 paper copies? What is the
Well-
difference between a hard copy, original, and the paper copies?
There is none.
Okay, so let's just be clear. Let's just
okay,
make
I get it.
the few words the better.
Yeah,
be
yeah, I get
Clear.
And I
Submit,
have that
submit
writ-
your you need to have your electronic submission and 5 paper copies to the
yeah,
town
right.
hall by 4 PM on October 2nd, 2023. Done.
But
Can I be a
Okay.
jerk and just say, I mean, doesn't the 5 paper copies defeat the whole purpose of the
It
electronic
does, but we
submission?
have to have
We
the
have to have
paper
them, Mary.
copies.
I understand that, and I was always the one that insisted I had to have paper, and
Well, you weren't alone,
I've come to terms with it, but
so you've come over to the dark side too.
I've come over to the dark side. But
Dr.
if they've
Stein's
submitted it
all good.
electronically on time, can we allow them to get us paper copies get us the 5 original paper copies within a week or something? Because if they're submitting it, if you're submitting it at 3:30, and we all know somebody's gonna submit it at 3:30, they're not gonna be able to run to town hall. And if they've got the electronic copy in, I'd be fine with them giving us the library copies and the Jan copy after the fact, as long as their electronic version is in on time.
It's fine with me, as long as there's a time frame.
Right.
it may already
Kelly?
say something like that.
Well, I think my thought was if the deadline happened to be the same for hard copies and electronic copies, and if there was a hiccup with the electronic version, then getting the hard copies in on time counts as an application in on time.
So,
That's true too. I don't care.
But I don't know how they get the electronic version in later and what we do with that, to make sure they get an electronic version in.
I guess my concern was how do they get the hard copy if they haven't done the electronic copy?
Right.
Because if the hard copy is being generated automatically from the electronic submission, they're not gonna have it. Unless they're doing 2 separate processes at the same time.
How does Chatham do it? Do they require hard copies too?
No, I don't think so.
Don't you always just save what work you do and print it out? Like, just to be on the safe side?
But I don't know that you're gonna be able to with
That's
this.
what I do.
But this is a web page, right?
Okay.
It's not it's not
All
a,
right, I get it.
but
It's
you
not
can,
a-
application.
you can go to the preview and
Yeah.
print the preview page.
yeah,
Then
if you
you've
got that far, right.
Right, well, you can, I mean, as it goes now, you can fill out the first page,
Yeah.
advance all the way to the end of the preview,
Yeah,
and print the preview out.
gotcha. Okay.
Can you print out the application, though, and just do it by hand if you want? No.
No.
I'm just
Well,
asking.
That's the purpose.
Right, I get that, but I'm just asking, because,
You'd have to print all 5, 6, 7 screens, right? You have to print each screen
No,
and
you
then,
could leave them all empty and then do a preview and print screen a preview or something.
Well, you can just do print, you can print it as a PDF and you get a PDF.
Right.
but can you get it as a PDF like right now? No, you can't, you can
Yeah,
only get
sure.
it.
Caleb, go to the end, to the preview page, please. Where are we? We're almost there, right?
I'm almost there.
No, we're not almost there. By the way, while he's doing that, what the first page says now is, the hard copy original and 2 paper copies must be submitted to the Harwich Administration offices at the address above no later than 4 PM Tuesday. So it's the day after the submission date for the online.
oh,
We can make
Okay.
it Friday that week.
Whatever, doesn't,
Well,
as long as it's not just, to me, it was, if I'm rushing to get it
so,
submitted.
so can you print, just hit the print icon up there in the upper right corner?
This might sound a silly question, but why are we making other people's emergencies our emergency? Let's just do it and get it done.
does it say October 2nd or October 3rd?
It says Tuesday, October 3rd.
Okay, all right.
So
Seeing that.
this is the application, most
Okay.
of it's blank.
Yeah.
Can you scroll down? Should be. Can you scroll down, Caleb? No, wait a minute, I don't know what happened there.
You guys can read that?
I can't read
can.
that.
Well, I
can't
can
make
see
that
what
out.
it is,
Yeah.
I can't really
The
read it.
last thing says the Harwich Preservation Committee, CPC, will review all applications
that
for
it's on that.
completeness and fulfilling the submission requirements.
What the hell you take, lutein?
Yeah, that's not right. I gotta, this,
I can see
that,
the
that isn't
dates.
what it's
That's
supposed
about-
to
I
be.
can maybe
so
even
it's-
read it without my glasses.
Jeez.
I have contacts in, I can read most of it. Not all of it, but most of it.
Wait a minute.
So submissions deemed by the CPC to be incomplete will not be considered for FY '25 funding, which we're gonna get rid of. The determination of completeness is at the sole discretion of the CPC and will be final.
So there.
Mary.
Were you reading or were you?
I was reading it.
So that's what is there, okay. I didn't remember.
It is, it's the last sentence.
That was the last sentence.
Before the I am not a robot.
Right. I feel like I'm in the doctor's office. Can you read the last line?
You did a very good job. You're up, you're,
15-20 vision, for God's sakes?
Incredible.
No, just in with my glasses, I can see it. You guys can't see that?
So
I
this
can
is,
read that
Yeah.
from here.
I can't.
I can read it here
You
because
need,
it's in
you
my
need better glasses then.
All right, so where are we?
uh,
Where are we, John?
I thought I was showing you how,
That we could
print
now
off
print
the
it from here.
application, but that's not what this is showing you, so there's an issue there which I need to.
That's
just-
okay. It may just be because of the robot.
So we're forcing everyone to do online submissions. I mean, basically.
Yeah. that-
Okay, we're
that is
moving
what we're
everybody
doing.
into the 21st century. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's good.
If you have a problem with them being able to get back in, let me know and we'll see if there's, because my other thought is you could do a Google Doc for it. If for some reason this isn't gonna
Yeah,
work.
okay, all right. Yeah, we can pursue fallbacks, we just have to do it sooner rather than later.
It's an easy one.
Okay.
If I use it, it's an easy one.
All right, I see.
Okay.
And if you want to have me review after you take out all the,
I will.
be happy
and
to.
I will send you a link,
okay,
send you an email, or,
Okay.
I mean, really the whole, yeah, why don't you review? If other people wanna get the thing in review, well, I can do
I
that
think it
too.
looks great.
In a timely manner,
Yeah, yes, please.
Kelly?
I just have one question. So if, say, we have like a really big file, like an appraisal, and that's obviously probably not gonna be able to be sent through email, cause sometimes that's way too big. Can they say share a shareable link to it in their Google Drive or something to our email? What would be the feasible option for that?
Well, we could also just modify what we've done in the past and say for large files, please provide them on a USB stick.
Okay.
Ma- Yeah,
That would make life so much easier. Okay, are we done with this?
Good job, John.
thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, moving on.
Kelly.
Kelly, you're up.
Great.
She says with enthusiasm.
Yeah, so brief update. Well, I sent everyone some drafts for the 3 projects that we were gonna work on to share on Facebook through the library. It sounds like it may make sense to talk to Cindy Williams, since that may be an additional optional platform projects as well. So if that sounds reasonable, I can connect with Cindy about a reasonable direction there. But with the library, I made a connection or reconnected finally, and that was on my end just because of some personal priorities that delayed me in progress. But I've got a meeting coming up at some point with I believe the library director. She's very enthusiastic and happy to get this going. Their initial feedback on the images was just to reduce the amount of text, so I thought about that a little bit more just to summarize what we were communicating. But I'm guessing that other than us talking about feedback on those we could discuss what projects we want to focus on, how to communicate this upcoming public meeting, timeline for the request of proposals and some community reminders on that. Anything else that we want to cover?
Okay, open it up to the board. Kathy?
Yeah, I'd sent Kelly a note. I thought these were great. I know what you're talking about with the library wants less text, but you know what? I think we should try this and see what kind of a response we get. So I would say if we can switch out our little orange thing here for our swoosh, and however that's gonna look in blue, then I say we go for it. We start getting that symbol out there once we get a hold of it and start getting it out there. And so people start to, see that that's what we are. And I think these are great.
Yeah.
Less information and you don't really get, the idea. I don't think it's too much information for anybody to read.
Robert?
Yeah, I agree with everything. I think we should go for it.
Mary?
I agree as well.
John?
Yeah, I agree, except the library said this is too much text, or your take is that library thinks this is too much text?
Yes, the library
Yeah,
thinks that
they're-
for a shared image
Yeah.
that is too much text.
They
That
like
people
one or
are
two
less
lines.
likely to read that,
Is
Right.
this more than one?
but
It's
there may
two
be some
sentences.
that do read that, so.
I think the
it may be
pictures,
worthwhile.
Yeah.
I think the pictures and the way that we have, you've got this font and stuff, I think is gonna draw people in and they're gonna wanna read what's there.
Yeah.
They did share praise that that kids enjoying the playground, and so some community activity and engagement with these projects will likely draw more attention than, say, a ribbon cutting. So I used one of Kathy's pictures of her grandkids for the playground one as one example.
Anyway, I think that this is, I think these are great. I think these are great, and I think that they get the point across. I would not wanna go with less information right now, unless we find out that,
Yeah.
that's not acceptable, or people are just, they get to see how many likes there are, right? Not likes, but, how many,
Yeah.
what do you call it when people
Yeah, like.
Interactions.
or open the page or something?
Right.
View the page, views, is that what they call it?
Sure.
You get that.
Yeah,
And you got the likes.
likes,
You
yeah.
can put the likes too.
So is the target Facebook? Are they doing Instagram or other things like that as well?
I don't recall if they're doing Instagram, but if they do both, I think I checked and they might be doing both. But yeah, the idea would be that we're on both platforms, if they use both platforms.
And I still think that this is a good place for us to do a thing about the public meeting, and actually we could do a thing about the application being online, come later in the summer. Just to,
How often do they change up there? Do they do like 3 posts a day? Do they do 1 post a day? Do we know?
I looked that over and I don't have it written down, but I reviewed it and it seemed pretty active. I think that we discussed if we're on there monthly, then great. But when I have this meeting with them, I can ask about what's feasible, because obviously we want to communicate what projects we supported, so then it keeps that fun stuff circulating, but also these key things like public meetings coming up.
I think they only keep a page up for like 24 hours though, isn't that true?
Once it's up on Facebook.
Yeah,
it's
it's-
there.
Or is it
Once
stays?
Once it's
roll
there,
it.
it's
Yeah,
there,
Oh,
but,
okay.
yeah. it
It'll
can't
go
go
down,
out
it'll
if
get
you-
pushed down
down.
if they do
Yeah.
new posts. And that was my whole question was, are they doing 5 posts a day so that,
Oh,
in a week,
right.
you're gonna be
Pushed out.
you're gonna be way down so that, somebody would have to really be on the library page to strictly to see all of their posts, that's all.
Yeah, I don't know enough of how it works, so.
But we can coordinate, with them on like what time things go out and kind of schedule that accordingly, because there's a, I guess an algorithm for like what time of day is the active time, but I'm sure that's pretty competitive, so we'll talk with them and.
Well, I say we try it, just like we try the banners. Just try it.
So Kathy,
Tell me, does
are you
Harwich
gonna
have
get a
an
Facebook account so
influencer?
you can
No.
follow what the
Nope.
library is posting on?
Nope.
So there are a couple of Harwich web pages. There's like 3 Harwich web pages now. There's an I Love Harwich, there's Harwich Old Timers, there's another one that says Harwich Cape Cod on
Right.
Facebook
Yeah.
that started popping up in my feed the last, I don't know.
So those considered
so.
influencers?
I don't know that they're influencers, but they're Harwich-based
Old timers,
pages.
Old timers is
old timers, I mean, she, before selectmen's meetings, she
Yeah.
posts a post about what's gonna happen at the selectmen's meeting, and,
So there are
but it's not neutral exactly either.
No.
There are, a few different ones, so, and they'll share, and, like, the
So-
fire department will make a post,
Yeah.
and old timers might share it,
Mhm.
Chamber of Commerce might share it. It'll pop up someplace else, Somebody has a lost dog, it will show up on any one of those pages as well.
There's a Harwich Cape Cod group,
Yeah.
and they've got 10,000 members, so it can get
Oh,
shared
really?
onto that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, more than I thought they did on that one. I wouldn't have thought it was that large.
10,000?
I just looked at it right now.
That's not, and it's not particularly active compared to,
Then maybe we'll
Maybe it's the
have
chamber?
some, maybe we won't get kicked off as quickly.
that's interesting.
Is it possibly the chamber?
I've seen a lot of small business
No,
pages
this is
on it.
it's a private group,
It is.
so you have to, like, say, can I?
Because old timers, isn't that 3,500?
They're pretty active on here.
Are they?
There's several posts today.
Okay.
It's usually, like, this is what's going on, or like,
Right.
what, this
Can I
road's
find-
closed, or
right.
what's
Can I
going
find a
on.
landscaper?
Right,
That's
yeah,
kind of
like,
stuff
I've
too.
a lot of that on.
oh, my cat's lost, or, so, yeah.
Okay, then. What else on this particular topic? Are we set? I guess it's on your shoulders, young lady.
I say get one out there and see what happens.
Yeah?
Great.
See what,
Good job, good luck.
Yeah?
Thank you, Cassie, for passing the torch.
It wasn't much of a torch, it was more like a snuffed out candle, so, but whatever.
Okay.
Good.
Next meeting agenda points. Does anybody want anything on the agenda for the next meeting?
Public
Any of the
hearings.
board members?
So maybe a follow-up on the online application, just in case we need to talk about something about it?
Yeah.
But
So-
otherwise, it's a public meeting, right? It's a public hearing.
Right.
You want to review for the public the online application or not? Someone mentioned that earlier today.
I leave that in, I will go with whatever the group decides on that. Whether you want to or not, it's entirely up to you. I will go with the group.
I'm not particularly interested in doing that at this meeting,
Let's not then.
so.
So don't follow
I
up?
just think we should calendar something in
Well-
case we need to talk about it
The follow-up,
We can do the follow-up at the regular
follow-up
meeting.
for the committee,
after the
but
public.
not review it for the public,
Right,
right? That's-
right.
Yeah.
So does everybody want to see the revised application before, say, the end of June?
Ooh.
Like the committee?
oh, yeah.
So
So
you'll send it to everybody just for,
I think I'll send it to you,
okay,
let you look it over,
okay,
and when you agree that there aren't any issues, then I would send it to Jan, and Jan
Sure.
can broadcast
Okay.
it to the
All right.
committee.
and then our meeting, June 29th, is gonna start at 6 o'clock, same time,
Same time, same channel,
and then we just run into the regular meeting.
right.
We have to specify.
Right, we
time.
do, that's
Right,
why I just said
right.
that.
So how much
Right.
time do we allot for
We
the,
don't have to specify, don't we just have to say the regular meeting will follow the public meeting?
I think so.
I think that we did
don't have
last
to be
time.
No,
specific
because
with
it's,
the
you're
time?
posting a public meeting,
Right,
and just the first part of your public meeting is your public hearing.
okay.
So your first agenda item should be the public hearing. I would suspect that's how we did it the last few
I'm
years.
looking at it, you think I could see it? Yet
No
we didn't
different than doing a
specify
public
time.
hearing in the middle of a,
Time? That's
of a
fine,
planning
I don't
board
see it
meeting
there,
or.
and I don't see it here, so,
okay, that's fine.
you know, if I put on my glasses, I probably could have read it
I was gonna say that to you, but anyway.
They're there, they're so far away.
Anything else from the board members?
We are
Go.
gonna have Tracy come and do the housing. We have her report from the Harwich Housing Authority, but she's gonna come, so I'll send that out. She'll have her report in her spreadsheet, and she's giving her update at this meeting.
Okay.
Said she-
Is that fair to her, to have her hang around? Can we post?
Well, typically, the public meeting doesn't last
That's
very
fine.
long, so I think it's okay.
Okay, all right, just asking the board, just want an opinion. All right, so we're set there. Oh. Think about what I said about the Board of Selectmen asking,
Asking,
we should have a discussion on that.
About the
About the
warrant
warrant
articles being
articles.
grouped together.
oh,
We should, if the meeting is a fast meeting, we'll agenda it. If it's a long meeting, we can table it till the next one, so. You gonna make it? Kelly?
I realized from my own notes that I had a question about the next meeting. So, since it's a public hearing, say community members are interested in attending but can't, are they able to send us some questions or comments ahead of the meeting?
Go ahead, Kathy.
They could send a question through the email, through the general town email to, you know,
CPC at Town of Harwich.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's available anytime.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Is
And that
it at-
question will get
Is it at
to,
Town of Harwich, or is it
Harwich
town.harwich.ma.us?
It's harwich.town. Or,
isn't that all changing? Is it-
Yeah,
is
because
it-
it's no
It's
longer.
harwich.ma, I think it's town.harwich.ma.us.
yes, right now it is, yeah.
I thought they dropped the US.
I thought it was just
they
Harwich.
did drop the US.
Yeah.
Well,
Harwich.
whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
The CPC email, they can send it to. It's on our webpage.
And that'll go to Jan, and Jan will distribute it to the rest of us.
We'll go to you.
Well, it'll go to me, it'll go to you, and you'll distribute it.
I think that's helpful to include in these, like, social media announcements.
Actually, it would be helpful to include in any kind of public announcement we're gonna make. That if you
We should
have,
put it in the
Yeah.
legal ad.
we should.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly.
So should I put that also in the online application? the
Sure.
first page?
Sure. But our names are at the end, right? And then just one email address is at the end now, correct?
Yeah, but I think that's in the,
Oh, that's in the,
information
Okay.
packet, not on.
which no one's gonna read. Okay, got it, I got it.
Well, yeah, we're gonna make them lie about that.
Right.
Just like they lie about every other, every
John,
other 20-page
please.
disclaimer.
Okay, I got it, all right.
Okay, anything else from the board? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Kathy
All those in
and-
favor?
aye.
Aye.
Good night,
Who
folks.
seconded? Was it Bob or John? Second.